I spent 10 very happy years going backwards and forwards to Russia and teaching in a Russian university. And I have fond memories of doing so. But the question now that a further list has been released of non-Russians who are not welcome in Russia, why would anybody want to go to Russia? Why would anybody want to go? I mean, I think there's wonderful things to see in Russia. There's not terribly much to do in Russia, but there's wonderful things to see, and there's wonderful people to meet. But frankly, to go to Russia is to endorse the Russian brutality in Ukraine, and I couldn't do that. So who would still visit Russia? You know, former friends of the Kremlin like Gérard Depardieu and Jean-Claude Van Damme, and they're no longer there, are they? The symbolic weight of undeclared welcome has gone. And Russia's updated this list of undesirables, not drug dealers, arms smugglers, or oligarchs, mind you, but British parliamentarians. Among them is James McCleary, MP for Lewes, a man so fiercely local he probably knows every pub dog by name, and now bizarrely persona non grata in Vladimir Putin's Russia. How is that? It isn't just a funny list, it's a symbolic war, and it raises a curious question. Who is still welcome in Russia, and who would even go? And how did these people get on this list? Let's be clear, in Putin's Russia, being banned is not a punishment, it's a promotion. MPs like McCleary, Phil Bricken, Helen Maguire responded not with concern, but with pride. A badge of honour, said Maguire. Vindication, said McCleary. Putin's got under my skin. No, it seems it's the other way round. Imagine being on the same blacklist as Gérard Depardieu, the French actor who once proudly took Russian citizenship in 2013 and has now denounced the war. Or Jean-Claude Van Damme, who appears to have vanished from Russian screens faster than a ruble in a currency crisis. Even Moscow's celebrity imports are packing their bags. The message from the West is increasingly, you can keep your vodka, we'll keep our dignity. So who's left? Who would visit Putin's Russia now? Not human rights lawyers, not independent journalists, not cultural attachés, not Gérard Depardieu, not Van Damme. You're left with Wagner operatives, lukewarm Belarusian poets, perhaps Steven Seagal, Russia's special envoy for cultural exchanges with America, which is a bit like appointing Nigel Farage as a UN peace ambassador. Even sanctioned MPs like Mike Martin, a former soldier, brushed it off. Absolutely no difference, he said. If anything, it boosted the MP's reputation domestically, uniting cross-party figures from the DUP's Jim Shannon to Labour's Blair McDonnell. When you can unite the SNP and the DUP, you know Moscow has miscalculated. And let's be honest, being banned from Russia in 2025 is a bit like being denied entry to Chernobyl. It's not a travel ban, it's a health warning. You're not being denied the Hermitage, you're dodging the surveillance state, the conscription squads, a regime with a fondness for tea-laced retribution. What Russia calls hostile rhetoric, the rest of us call moral clarity. The banned MPs are being punished for proposing the seizure of foreign Russian assets, a move that would see billions redirected to rebuild Ukraine. The real crime in Putin's eyes is supporting the victims rather than their tormentor. Ironically, it's Russia that's becoming increasingly isolated, diplomatically friendless, except for having Trump as a mate, culturally hollow, economically paralysed. While Putin imagines he's drawing lines in the sand, the tide of history is quietly washing away his footprints. And once Russia cultivated the aura of grandeur, the land of Tolstoy, of Tchaikovsky, of Gagarin. I remember majestically seeing Gagarin standing on his plinth. Who do you put on a plinth today? Today, plinth Trump. Today, it's the realm of Lavrov's press conferences and rambling anti-West tirades. The Kremlin now sanctions truth itself, suppressing dissent and fierce sarcasm more than sanctions. In this context, banning a Sussex MP seems not only petty but deeply insecure. So let's reframe the question, not as who is no longer welcome in Russia, but who still feels welcome in Putin's Russia. Even with the B-list celebrity expats tiptoeing towards the exit, with artists, athletes, and even some oligarchs abandoning the Kremlin's cause, perhaps the real question is this: who is left inside Russia who still wants to be there? The answer is increasingly only those who can't leave. And in that silence, and those who remain trapped, the badge of honour worn by those exiled from entry shines all the brighter. Would I go back to Russia? Not at all. Not while Putin remains in any form in power. And as for Putin, is he really there? I don't know. I think not. Putin's fridge is rather like one of those Matryoshka dolls. You unscrew it and you take out one Putin, then another Putin, then another Putin. You unscrew that. Putin constantly being unscrewed and screwed. And I have no desire. I have no desire to play around with Putin. I have no desire to unscrew the Putin doll or to screw Putin. As far as I'm concerned, Putin can remain in his fridge for eternity. And that is it. You know, I won't go in. I won't be going to that fridge for anything. I have no interest in the fridge, and I have no interest in Putin, except for what he represents, and he represents evil. Now, somebody said that the other day somebody was making some seriously anti-Putin jibes about Putin in hell. Now, I'm afraid I disagree. I disapprove. I would stand up for Putin. I believe, like Clement of Alexandria, in the universal salvation of the world. So I believe that there is still hope for Putin, as I also believe there's hope for Trump and Vance. But Putin does push. He pushes against every inch of goodness. It's very difficult to identify the goodness in Putin. But like Hitler, Putin likes dogs, and they seem to like him. If a dog likes you, you think, well, there must be something there. There must be something there. And I know people with Putin's puppies. I know people who've been gifted Putin's puppies. I don't know what you do to get a puppy from Putin. But maybe more screwing and unscrewing of the Matryoshka dolls. But it's the silence of the many people in Russia who are trapped, just as it's the silence of the many people in Ukraine who are victimized by the Kremlin.